I try to tell people, put yourself in these sellers' shoes for 30 days. If you were them for 30 days, what this industry has put them through, I'm shocked they're still answering the phone. I'm shocked they haven't changed their phone number. I'm shocked they just say, you know what, screw a phone. I'm going to get rid of my phone and go back to the old days. Because the wholesaling industry has annihilated homeowners.
Eric Klein, welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
So, 2023.
Yeah.
What'd you close in wholesale deals? Gross income.
$3,220,000 and some change. I don't know what the change is.
And how many markets is that?
We were in North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, and Ohio.
How many of, roughly about how many deals is that?
It was 185, I believe.
And out of those 185 deals, how many homes did you walk through, tour, sit down on the couch, have a face-to-face, knee-to-knee, belly-to-belly conversation with the property owner?
One. Yeah, and I felt super awkward. I almost blew the deal.
You almost blew, of course.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because what I usually do over the phone did not work that well in person.
Right. So let's talk about that. So 184 of those property owners trusted you to buy their house over a phone call.
All of them.
How does that happen?
Real easy.
It's not that easy.
So for 14 years, that's all I've known.
Okay.
I don't do this.
Right.
So for me to jump into the wholesale industry and do it over the phone, like I knew no different.
Yeah.
I heard about people going out to houses, but that's something I knew I didn't want to do. So when I have a sales process that I go off of, and I used it in my last business, I use it in this one, and it gets people to like me, trust me, and want to do business with me. By the end of the phone call, when I make an offer, I make sure they know exactly who they're saying yes to.
Got it. And why not go to the properties? Why not get in front of these? Why not build that really solid rapport and relationship, face to face?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I thought they would judge me on the way I looked. So like most people, you go into an older person's house and you're sitting on the couch with an older lady.
Sure.
And I think she's not looking at my eyes. I feel she's looking at the star in the middle of my neck with an eyeball on it, wondering what the hell is this dude doing here?
Right.
So for me, in the beginning, it forced me to pick a phone up my appearance. Yeah. Well, I obviously, going back 14 years ago, I was insecure. Today, I am secure with what I look like.
Sure.
But I'd rather, for me, I think this is just my opinion, it's more scalable.
Yeah.
You can track your KPIs better.
Yep.
And I believe, you can go much faster and harder over a telephone.
So why'd you get so many tattoos?
So a lot of them came from drunken episodes.
Got it.
But since I have over 14 years clean and sober now, and I have yet to stop getting them. So now I get them sober.
Sure.
Yeah. I like them.
And is it because you've been behind a phone for how long? 13 years?
I've been behind a phone now for going on 14.
Like, I'm going to just get tattoos. I'm going to go bananas.
I'm going to do everything but the face.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you love it.
I love it.
Okay.
And they all hurt like hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, you wonder about getting a lot of tattoos, being in sales, being, building trust, buying houses, all these things.
Yeah.
None of that matters because you've got a sales process that you use over the phone.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And so let's break that down.
I'd love to.
Right?
Yeah.
I know you would. I'd love to break it down because really there's 5 parts to your process.
There is.
And this is something, guys, I learned about Eric through Jerry Norton's had you on his podcast or on his YouTube channel, and I loved the interview. It was a really great interview. I thought it was really, really something that we hadn't heard in wholesaling, and so I had reached out to you because we're expanding this year. We're going into different markets and we're virtual, so we have to build those skills on the phone. And you're like, listen, this is just a process.
Yep.
And so I'm learning the same way that everybody listening and watching is going to learn. So let's break down these 5 steps.
So I'll even take it just one step back first. Is when I got into this space, I realized real quick that the biggest challenge was the sea of people out there that are doing this that are not educated on sales.
Right.
So that was, for me, I said, all right, that's the biggest challenge coming into this space, which I already had my 5 steps from my last business model. And I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create now within this space a 5-step sales process that separates me from the other phone calls, to where the seller will have no other option to go, this guy's different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whether he's talking to me or one of my acquisition managers. So in the day I got on the phone and made my very first phone call, I had a 12-page script. And it was me that actually sat my butt back down in a seat and started pounding the phones, where, a year prior to that, I had over 100 people on the phones in my last company.
Right.
So I wanted to get my 5 steps for this new model seasoned before I brought somebody else on and say, hey, this works.
So obviously you're working off of some blueprint, right? You're working off of something that has worked in your previous, what was the previous timeshares?
I owned the largest timeshare exit company in the U.S.
That's right. And you had 100 people that you had developed the scripts before, right?
Yes.
So you had experience in that.
Yes.
So what was the first script that you wrote? I mean, does it go even further back before the timeshare exit company?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, even my script today, like I've here over the last week, I'm going to go back home and I'm going to redo my script again, because there's certain word tracks in there that I could switch up to make them feel like I'm not demanding them to do something, where it's a question where they feel they should do it.
Sure.
So I'm always redoing my scripts. Always. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah, but why even write scripts? I mean, can't you you're so natural, right? I mean, you were just instantly really good at sales, and you didn't have any training, and you didn't have anybody around you. You just came out like this, right?
No, I did not.
What?
No. When I got on the phone for the first time, I had the worst social anxiety a person could have.
Sure.
I had very low self-esteem. I could not hold a conversation like this. So the first call center I got into, everything was scripted, where I was working for another gentleman, and I worked at that place for a year and a half. The appointment setter, they had scripts. The closers had scripts. And the reason for the script is to bring in a guy off the streets that has, a good personality, maybe a good work ethic and all that, and say, hey, if you sit down and follow this script, you're going to have success here. Now, once you know that script so well and you can put your personality into it, you're going to have a lot of success. So my script is to where I can bring just about anybody that has a good attitude, is coachable, teachable, and a good work ethic. I can bring them in to TLC Home Buyers, which is my wholesaling company. And within their first 30 days of hitting the phones, I can get 3 to 5 contracts out of them.
Love it.
And then after their first 30 days, they're expected to get 8 to 10 contracts.
A month?
A month.
Holy cow.
Yep.
But writing these scripts, let's
break the 5 steps down.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So my 5 steps is: 1 is intro. 2 is fact find. 3 is the pitch. That's the house. 4 is your offer. 5 is the close. I tell everybody, if you've done 1 through 4 right, step 5, which is the close, should be the easiest step of the entire
Natural
conversation.
progression, yeah.
Where most people, in my opinion, mess up is they speed to an offer and they struggle at the close. where step 1, 2, and 3, if they were to spend most of their time there, that's where the work's done.
Yeah.
So step 1 is intro, and that's where we introduce ourselves. I want to know who you are. I let you know who I am. I set clear expectations about the phone call, letting you know by the end of this phone call, 1 of 2 things are going to happen. You're either going to get an approval with an offer, or you're going to get a denial with a reason. I immediately separate myself because they go, wait, a denial?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Everyone's dying to buy my home.
Well,
right
you
now.
separate yourself.
Yes.
Step number 1 by framing the conversation.
Yes.
You said setting expectations, but that's essentially what you're doing.
Yes.
You're framing the conversation. And listen, if they don't want to be in this frame, if they don't want to go with this conversation, they're going to tell you quickly.
Yeah.
They're going to bail out real quick, and then you can move on to the next. But setting that, it is so critical that you set those expectations and really frame the call
In the beginning.
And you do it. And what I've seen is, and it works really well, and we've done this naturally, and I was happy to see that you do this as well. As, can you grab a pen and paper?
Yep.
Right?
In the very beginning.
Right in the beginning.
What I want, and the reason is getting them engaged and taking them away from whatever they were doing and focusing their attention on the phone call.
Right.
Because we're calling these people out of the blue. They weren't sitting at home waiting for
They're
a phone
driving, they're cooking, they're running around the house, they're in their backyard, they're messing around in the garage, they're doing all sorts of things. If they're not framed and really listening and almost in a studious manner, like, you know what I mean? There's something magical when pen hits paper.
Yep.
There just is.
Well, the way I look at it, when you walk into Best Buy, when you walk on a car lot, all that, everyone has a name tag.
Right.
And that's because I can look at you, I can see your name tag, and be like, hey, what's going on, right? I know who I'm talking to. Over the phone, what I want to do is I want to place my name tag on their kitchen table.
Sure.
And at the end of a phone call, we all, at least in my office, we're going to make an offer on that first phone call. We're not going to let them go and then call them back. The hardest part of this business is getting them on the phone. So when you have them on the phone, keep them on the phone and try to get the deal.
Right.
So when you get to step 5, which we're going to go all the way through these, the last thing you want to do in this industry is make an offer to somebody to get them to sell you their house, and they have to ask you, what's your name again? I'm not going to sell my house to that person.
No.
So there's a method to my madness, and everything is setting the stage for the step 5, which is the dance, right? Where most people fail, and that's the close. So we're going to introduce ourselves. We're going to set clear expectations, and then we're going to have them write the information down. After we have them write our first name, last name, name of the company, website, we give them our telephone number. The only thing we ask the homeowner to repeat is the phone number. And the reason is you can remember my name. You can remember the name of the company. You can remember the website. You might mess it up a little bit. The one thing you're not going to remember is a phone number.
Nope.
So I want to know, did they do what I asked them to do? Do I have their full attention?
Yeah.
So that would be step 1. And we time, like I tell everybody, if you're doing it the right way, your intro with a little bit of fluff talk and small talk should be anywhere from a minute to a minute and a half, right?
Yeah.
Once you get past that, you have someone's attention and you've told them by the end, 1 of 2 things will happen. They've agreed to stick into the call with you now, which is amazing, right? So once you get that.
And say the line again. What's going to happen at the end of the call?
1 of 2 things will happen. My underwriters, they're going to look at the property based off mine and your conversation. So as we're going, there's no right or wrong answer, right? If you don't know something, just tell me you don't know. I'm going to put TBD in here, and I'm going to enter it into our system. And my underwriters will run a report to let them know what they need to know within a quarter to a half-mile radius on what's going on in the area. So when I go back there, they're going to tell me 1 of 2 things. They're going to say, yes, the property's approved. Here's what they're willing to pay based off what you said. Or 2, it doesn't meet their buy box, and they're going to give me a reason why. And I'm going to let you know why they're not wanting to buy your home today. So they're willing to stick in that call, even though I told them we might not buy your house.
Right.
Which I've set so we're doing kind of a takeaway in the beginning. And then once we do that, we jump right into step 2, which is going to be the fact find. And this is what I try to, I don't hear this talked about enough. And the way I teach my process is I try to tell people, put yourself in these sellers' shoes for 30 days. If you were them for 30 days, what this industry has put them through, I'm shocked they're still answering the phone. I'm shocked they haven't changed their phone number. I'm shocked they just say, you know what, screw a phone. I'm going to get rid of my phone and go back to the old days. Because the wholesaling industry has annihilated homeowners. So I say if you can understand that when you get into one of these phone calls, and what you have to try and figure out is why they haven't clicked the little red button.
Right.
What is their interest? Because the home is access to money that ultimately is going to take care of a problem. Or the home is, there may be a tenant in there that's the biggest problem. They may be trying to get to a grandchild because she's 78 years old. She's got a illness where she, her timeline is ticking, and she now wants to go see her granddaughter for the remaining years. You have to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
Because that's going to help you apply that healthy pressure in the end. So the fact finding is we try to spend, before we even talk about a house, we try and spend anywhere from 7 to 9 minutes there.
Discovery.
Why
do they want to sell?
Why do they want to sell? And they're going to give you very surface level answers in the beginning, which expect that. Expect them to maybe say it's none of your business. Right now, again, when we call these people, their skepticism is as high as it gets. So us as acquisition managers, as closers, as professionals, as problem solvers, what we're supposed to do is take that uncertainty level and lower the uncertainty and raise the certainty, right? So the only way that's gonna happen is by having a structured conversation, asking questions that matter, and getting them to understand the person on the other line, meaning me as that acquisition manager, is much different than all these other people that have called you.
And third-party stories.
Third party. So that's where fact find. So what we do.
Because I've watched these. I've watched your videos on YouTube. I think that this is truly your superpower. I mean, the tone, the experience, the enthusiasm, the scripting, great. It's all great.
The stories
the
make
thing
it
that
real.
goes, bro.
It makes it real.
Every time. I am telling you. I remember, and listen, I've talked to 45,000 property owners myself. I mean, I have been in the boiler room, so to speak, for years, from 9 to noon, making those calls. And then you start working with people, and then you start seeing patterns and commonalities with a lot of the property owners that we're talking with, right? I mean, you said it. They have tenant problems. They're going through probate. It's been a vacant property. They've inherited it a long time ago, don't know what to do with it. It's just they can't keep up with the property anymore, and they just got to get rid of it. Like, all of these things keep cycling again and again and again and again. And when you work with one, you can explain how great of a process that was to somebody else.
Even on a home you didn't lock up under contract, you could still use the story.
Of course.
Right? It's a third-party story. So when we go in, all of our leads are either sent to us from a cold call company or they're generated online. So most of them have a reason why. So when let's say we get a lead from the cold call company and it says, done being a landlord. Okay, well, I'm going to go into that conversation after I do my intro, and I'm going to say, hey, Mrs. Seller, it looks like they referred your property over to us because they said you're done being a landlord. That's accurate? Yeah. You know what's weird is the last 3 or 4 properties that I've personally gotten qualified here, they've all been from just retiring landlords. They're done with it. The one that sticks out to me is, Mrs. Smith. She had been a landlord for 25 years, had a great run, and she broke the cardinal rule. She rented to friends and family members. She let her granddaughter into that property, it was 3-5 years ago. And it's completely drove a wedge in between her and her granddaughter. She's not getting rent on time. She's not having the relationship she wanted. And we were able to help her not only get her granddaughter back, because the easiest solution for her was, I'm going to go to my granddaughter and say, honey, someone's buying the house. You gotta be out in 60 days. She didn't want to kick her out, but she said someone's buying the house. And not only did we help her get her granddaughter back, but she was 76 years old. And at 76, When she sold the house, she was able to take the $50,000 cash she had and pay off $17,000 in credit card debt. For the first time at 76 years old, she was debt-free. So I understand you say you don't want to be a landlord, but why? And then I shut up. I've told a story.
Do you know what the rest? Do you know what the rest of the industry does? How old's the roof?
Yeah, trust me.
What kind of floors do you have?
They go right past the problem.
How old's the boiler?
Yes.
How much will you take for it?
It's crazy, man. It's so
no discovery.
None.
And people think discovery is all about the condition of the property. It's really not. It's about the reason for them to sell. And listen, a real estate lead, if we're really talking about lead generation, which is the whole engine of our business, a lead is somebody that has made the decision they're going to sell.
That is a lead.
That's a lead. I'm telling you, we're not going to convince anybody to sell their property. We're not going to do this wizardry where we're like, oh, before the interest rates do this and the economy does this and the election does this, you should sell your house and them actually stick with it. It's not going to happen. It has to already be a decision in their head. And if they've made the decision that they're going to sell their property, why?
Why? You got to figure out why. And people always...
That's the difference between the amateurs and the pros.
Yes.
True.
In this industry is full of amateurs, which is okay. I was an amateur at one day, and even today, I'm still trying to get better. Like I'm still trying to separate myself from the pack. And but I knew coming in that was going to be the biggest challenge. Was these people have talked to so many amateurs. When they pick it up, they are putting you in that same bucket until you can prove otherwise. And
they have reflex nose at this point.
Yes,
they have done this. They've heard this pitch 1,000 times. Or a dozen times. Let's be honest. I mean, maybe 5 or 10 times.
Easy.
And they know how to put up the wall, put up the force field, and just pull information from you. Well, how much are you going to give me? No. How much you called me? How much are you going to give me? You know what I mean?
So I always our leads come from cold callers. We all know PPC, but this
which is my favorite.
I want to. It's one of my favorite. But the reason I like cold calling leads is they have spent 3 to 5 minutes with somebody in another country. That everyone always says, "Well, how good is their English?" It's good, but they're in another country. Right. They're in another country, and they spent 3 to 5 minutes with that person. And they've answered very specific questions. I've never done that. I've never stayed on the phone with somebody for 3 to 5 minutes where they called me out of the blue and said, yes, I'll sell my house. Here's how many beds, baths, the year, and yes, tell someone else to call me. I've never done that because I've never been interested in selling one of my houses. So if you understand, if you hire a cold call company and it's on you to convert that lead. It's on you. Cold call company did their job. They got them to raise their hand, say yes, and more than likely a timeline in that. But going back to the 5 steps, right? Step 2.
I'm going to take this all over. This is just what I do.
Love it. I love it, man.
But
honestly.
I think it's really important that people understand in the discovery process, it is unbelievably powerful to have third-party stories. You know, because you take it almost out of the conversation that we're having, and taking it to you're telling a story here. You're storytelling here, and it involves us kinda, but not really. You know what I mean? It involves the way that we worked with this specific seller, but not really. It's more putting them in the same shoes and just seeing if it's something that clicks there, and it's not so much just battering them with question after question after question, which turns into an interrogation.
And one thing I want people to understand with third-party stories is there's a lot of third-party stories me personally haven't been through. So if you want to do this for a long time and you want to do this at a high level, anytime I have stories, all my stories, I stick to them, right? Like if I'm talking to somebody and they talk about cancer, I've never had cancer. I always go to my wife's parents, my mother and father-in-law. I immediately pivot to that third-party story. If I'm talking to a guy that's up there in age and he's 85, 95 years old, boom, my wife's grandfather right now is still living at 95. I tell that story.
Yeah.
If someone talks about if they're skeptical doing business over a telephone, I have the story of 12, 13 years ago trying to buy a dog for my daughter online and almost getting taken to the cleaners of like $1,500 through Western Union. I tell the same stories every single time. And when you talk to enough people, you should know what story you are going to go to relate to this person.
Yep.
So just understand, you don't have to be the one that went through the situation. Use a story of someone that's close to you, a friend, a family member, or somebody that you've talked to on the telephone.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Step 3, pitch.
Step 3, pitch. This is where we go into the house. Now, questions we do not talk about in the offer or the pitch is we wait till the end, very, very end, which I'll get to how we position ourselves there, but we do not use the word upgrade, and we do not ask anything about the AC, the roof, or the windows until the end. So we'll stay on the exterior of the house and the neighborhood. So we'll say, tell me a little bit about the neighborhood, because again, Mrs. Seller, we're going to qualify this property. They're looking, some of these questions I'm going to ask you today, you're going to wonder, why are you even asking me? These have nothing to do with my house.
Yeah.
Well, my underwriters, they're always looking through a house through one of two lenses. They're going to see if it's a buy and hold or a fix and flip. So some of the questions you're going to think are weird, but just know there's a reason behind it.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the neighborhood, and then we just shut up.
Yep.
They may go on for 15 minutes, or they may give you a one-word answer. It's great. Cool. Now it's your job to get them to talk. So is there a lot of owner-occupied, a lot of rentals? The house to the left of you, to the right of you, is that owner-occupied or is that a rental property? Do you have a chain-link fence? Walk me around the property, please, and tell me exactly what I'm going to see, from siding to structures in the back to maybe a pool, concrete patio, a wood patio. Tell me what I'm going to see, but walk me around the entire property. Because what I want them to do is I want to take the salesman hat off and I want them to put it on.
Right.
So if I can get them to start selling me their house, I'm in a good position. If I'm the one just asking questions all day long, then I'm the one in the driver's. I want them to be the one talking to me. So we'll walk around the property. We'll talk about the neighborhood. Before we go inside the house, we always ask, you know, I appreciate all the information you've given me. Before we go inside, if you were in my shoes, is there anything that I've missed about this outside that you would want to know? Good or bad, please let me know. And then again, I shut up. Because most people, when you ask a question, that's a stop sign. That means you shut up. A lot of people like to ask a question, give a couple answers, and then the person on the other end of the line picks one of those. So what you need to do is you need to ask a question, and you just need to shut up. There's going to be some awkward silence there, and you need to give the person the time to think and respond, right? So then we go inside. Hey, it's a 1978 home. We're getting ready to walk through the front door. Open the front door and walk me through this house. Is it still 1978? And I just shut up. We walk room to room. We don't say, what did you upgrade here? Hey, what are we seeing when we walk through the front door? What's the floors look like? Trimming look like? What colors am I looking at? Okay, once we get through the front door, what are we walking into? You're walking into the living room. Explain it to me, please. Am I sitting in 1978? No. Okay, what year am I sitting in? I'm asking, have you upgraded the house?
Right.
But I'm just not saying, hey, have you upgraded the house? I'm getting exactly what I want from them. I walk room for room. When I look up at the ceilings, am I looking at the popcorn or are those smooth? What do you mean popcorn? You know, all those little things, it's not popular anymore today. It was back in the 90s. It's not today. So we're walking room to room. Do the outlets work in that room? What do the countertops look like? What color are they? What are the cabinets? Oh, they're white. Did you just paint those or did you actually replace those? Because it means something. Is there lights in the ceilings? When we go into the bedroom, right? Tell me what the bedroom looks like. Do all the outlets work in this bedroom? And while we're in the house, step 2, which is the fact find, you actually will probably get more information out of them when you're in the home versus the actual step itself.
Right.
So I would say step 2, you want to bring that one all the way to the closing table. You never stop figuring out why they were on the phone with you. Once we get done with the inside of the house, we will say, again, I appreciate you giving me all this information. I know I've asked you a ton of questions, but have I missed anything? If you were in my shoes, because you know we're getting ready to make you an offer sight unseen, and is there anything I missed? Good, bad, anything. Doesn't matter. Please tell me. We shut up. We let them answer the question. And then we say, all right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get up from my desk and I'm going to run back to the underwriters. Mm-hmm. They've been looking at the property now for probably about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're just simply looking at the area within a quarter to a half a mile, telling them exactly what they need to know from a data standpoint and number standpoint, what's active, what's listed, and what's sold, and the condition and price per square foot. If stuff is listed, they're going to look at how long it's on the market right now. That's going to help them figure out whether or not this is something they're going to approve or deny.
Right.
So just bear with me one moment. I'm going to be right back. I don't ask them, can I put you on hold? I don't say I'm going to put you on hold for a couple minutes. I just say, I'm going to put you on a quick hold. I'm going to get up from my desk and I'm going to run down the hallway because I want them to think I'm getting up and running down the hallway when really all I'm doing is pushing mute on my phone.
Right.
And I'm going to sit there for 3 minutes. I tell everybody, let them sit for 3 minutes. And again, why 3 minutes? I made the number up. It seemed like a good, nice, healthy number to get there, have someone sit there. If I can get someone to sit through 3 minutes, I got their attention and I got their interest.
Yeah.
And I know what I've already put them through. I let them sit for 3 minutes. Someone's probably asking right now, Eric, what do you do if they hang up? You call them back. That's what you do.
Sure.
So don't worry if they hang up. That's okay. Once I come back, and the reason for the holds is in your fact finding, you're asking questions you may not get answers to. Is your spouse home? No. How much do you want? I want to hear your offer first. What's your reason for selling the house? It's none of your business. How long have you been thinking about it? Doesn't matter. You called me. Mm-hmm. You're going to hear that. Those are going to be normal responses. But when you leverage a hold and you've planted those seeds or those questions into their head, when you put them on a hold, if the wife is there, they're going to get to talking when you put them on hold. Mm-hmm. And 3 minutes is a healthy time for them to start a conversation.
Sure.
So when we come back from that 3 minute hold, I say, hey, you know what? I apologize about that hold. I don't have good news and I don't have bad news for you. They actually had a couple more questions, and my apologies that I didn't even think about this. So they didn't qualify it or deny it, but they wanted to know the age of the roof. And my apologies, it's a big ticket item. They wanted to know the age of the roof. Have you had that done here recently? Question, stop, let them answer. Whatever response they give you, did they strip the shingles or did they just layer over them? What do you mean? Mm-hmm. You don't know whether or not they stripped the shingles off of it? No, okay, I'm going to go ahead and note that in my system. And I like to be close enough to where they can hear me type in. You know, right now I'm selling the sizzle, not the steak.
Right.
Okay, so you don't know whether or not they actually stripped them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And then the AC. Tell me about the AC. I don't ask what year. I say, tell me about it. Well, what do you want to know? What year is the exterior unit? What year is the interior? Tell me about all that. It was done 5 years ago. Was it serviced or was it replaced? Mm-hmm. It was replaced. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and note that here in the system. Now, the windows, it's a 1978 home. And I see you've owned it for about 15 years. So you weren't there when it was originally built. Do you know if the windows are original? No, I've replaced them. Okay, have you replaced all of them? Well, I replaced like 4 of them, I think. Okay, well, if you can do me a favor, and I don't mean to ask this too much of you, but can you give me an exact count of how many windows you've replaced? So now I got these people walking around their house possibly counting windows. Okay, if someone were to say, no, the windows are original. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the system. I'm not sure they're approving homes right now where they got to redo all the windows, the interior. They're looking to do like just kind of a lipstick if they're going to buy something. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Now, the underwriters have asked me two other questions that I didn't have answers to. They wanted to know, what is your timeline of wanting to get this done? Because they're going to put that into their decision making. 30 days. Okay, so you think that the tenant only needs 30 days. They've been there 5 years, and you think 30 days is a realistic number. Yeah, they should be out in 30 days. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and note that and see if I can get that approved. And now, if they can get this approved, the 30 days approved, and they can get to a number that makes sense for you and for them, are you ready to do this now? And I don't say today, I say now. Because I want to get the deal done right now. Not today at 9 o'clock tonight. I want to get it done now. So I do a trial close. Yes or no, I am moving the conversation forward to get to the money.
Yep.
And then I say, all right, awesome. I'm going to go ahead. Again, I apologize about putting you on another hold. I didn't anticipate this happening. I'm going to just run back there real quick one more time. Just bear with me one moment. And boom, I press mute. And I sit there again for 3 minutes. So this is still the pitch, the house, right? This is step 3. So we have went through step 1. They've written all my information down. I've set very clear expectations. They've repeated a phone number. I let them know there may be an approval or a denial. I've went into my fact finding. I've asked them some very specific questions about who they are. They know who I am. They know I'm married at this point. They know I got 2 kids, 2 dogs, a golden doodle, a bernedoodle. I've adopted my daughter when she was 15. I came into her life when she was 7 because I know at the end, they're not saying yes to TLC home buyers.
Right.
They're saying yes to me.
That's it.
So I put them on that hold. I come back, and this is where we go into the offer, which is step 4. Congratulations, your property got approved. I am not congratulating them on the number. I'm congratulating them on the approval. Okay?
Yep.
So you want to make sure you're framing it that way. Congratulations. I was one of 7 acquisition managers back there waiting to see if I can get an approval, and they've actually approved your property, given all the windows are original. It's 1978 build. I thought they were cut off was around 1980, but they've approved your property. So it's the first one that they've approved for me all week. What I want you to do now, on that pen and paper, you got all my telephone number and our website. You still have that piece of paper, Mrs. Seller? Yeah, I got it. Cool. What I want you to do is I want you to write down the virtual withdrawal number. Okay, Eric, the virtual withdrawal number, what's this number for? Well, I'm glad you asked. Again, I'm one of 7 acquisition managers, so we're getting properties approved every day and we're making offers every day. So what this number is they got to keep track of what's being offered and what's being accepted and how much money they still have to spend. So what they're going to do with this number, and I'm getting ready to give you your offer, so just bear with me here for a moment. They've released the money over to the spent account. So this number is attached to that money. It's literally waiting for you on closing. So the offer, the virtual withdrawal number is VW for Volkswagen, 12345. Make a number up. Make sure you have it written down, because when somebody calls you back with that, you want to be able to have that number available for them. Now, for us, every lead that comes into our system, we have a property ID number. It's a unique number. So that's the number we give all of our homeowners when we're giving a virtual withdrawal number out. So we have them write that number down. We have them repeat that number to us. And now we're going to go over what the offer is. So now,
why even go through that process?
What the offer is?
No. The virtual withdrawal number.
Great question.
You know?
I use this term a lot, or this expression. I'm selling the sizzle, not the steak.
Right.
I leverage that number for urgency at the end of the call.
Got it.
When you give enough of these out and somebody says, I need to think about it, I need to think about it, I need to think about it. They say I need to think about it 3 times after you've tried overcoming that objection and you let them go. What we say with this virtual withdrawal number is, hey, Mrs. Seller, listen, I'm just an acquisition manager. I know you got to think about it, and I respect that. but I am not authorized to allow $150,000 to just sit out there.
Right.
So what I'm going to have to do is, before I let you go, is I'm going to go ask if they'll keep this active for you for the next 24 hours, for the next 12 hours. Is it worth my time to even go back there? Should I just tell them, go ahead and release it?
Right.
No. Go ahead and ask them to keep that for 24 hours. It's just I'm testing them. If they say, no, go ahead and release it, there's a chance they're flaking with me. Mm-hmm. If they say, no, go back there and ask them, will they keep that money available for me for the next 24 hours?
Yeah.
I got their interest.
Yeah.
And when you give enough of those out, you're going to get people to call you back and say, hey, is my virtual withdrawal number still available? But
as opposed to my offer.
Yeah.
Right.
And you put them on
the offer still good?
Is the offer still good?
Right.
They're going to call you up and say, hey, this is Candace over at 123 Main Street. My virtual withdrawal number is VW12345. And then you get to say, I'd have to go back and talk to them. I don't know if it's available.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
That's the reason.
Got it.
There's layers to it. And, subconsciously it's having them in the motions of writing it down. They're been qualified. That's attached to it. The money's attached to it, all of that stuff. Yeah. Once we get past step 3, which is your pitch, we're now going into the offer. Mm-hmm. Now, the offer is you come back from your 3-minute hold, you congratulate them, you have them write that down, you go over. Now, the offer, what I've been able to get approved for you is I did get it approved where they're going to buy the home as is. You literally don't have to do anything.
Right.
Now, I know you probably heard that before, but let me explain what that means. You don't have to paint. You don't have to patch. You don't have to sweep. You don't have to clean. You can literally pack your suitcase, or your tenant can pack their suitcase and leave, but we do need to understand how much stuff is being left there, okay? Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean as is. They're going to cover all the closing costs. Closing costs, usually you have to pay that if you're going to sell your house. Mm-hmm. You're looking at a couple $1,000s in closing costs. And then there's no commissions because you're going to be you're the seller, we're the buyer. So you don't have a realtor eating into any of your money. A lot of people just slide past that. I'm going to buy it as is and you don't have to do anything. Well, for you, you may have said it 100 times. This may literally be the first time that person on the other end of the line is really doing this. Yeah. It becomes very transactional for us, where we don't think about, all right, I've put 50 houses under contract, but this is the first time they've done it. They do need to know what as is means. Mm-hmm. It does mean they don't have to clean anything. They don't have to patch anything. When you take all the pictures of you and your family down, you don't have to go and clean those holes up. You know how much money you save when you don't have to do that kind of stuff? A lot, thousands of dollars. I got the 30 days approved. I got the 30 days approved for you. Now, the offer, which came in a little bit higher than I was anticipating, we say that every single time, came in a little bit higher than I was anticipating, came in at $135,332. Does that odd number mean anything? Does it make a difference? I don't know.
Yeah.
But we say odd numbers.
Sure.
I was able to squeeze every dollar out of them. I milked them like a cow, right? You can say all this different stuff. And your first offer, they should always deny. What we do when we make an offer, in the sales world, I hear people say all the time, the first one to talk loses. Mm-hmm. I do not agree with that.
Okay.
At all. And this is just me. We're coming in, we're saying your property was approved. I got you. Here's what they're willing to offer you. We make the offer. The offer came in a little bit higher than I was anticipating. They're willing to pay you $135,332. Now, the next step that we're going to do, I pause. I let there be that awkward silence. Right. But I don't want to sit there and they're going to let me know if the offer's not good or not. Mm-hmm. I do like maybe a 3-second pause, give them time to marinate on that. But I don't want to sit there like I'm unsure of my offer.
Right.
I want to be confident in my offer. I know the first one, they're supposed to reject it. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to assume the close. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go into now the underwriters. What they're going to do is they're going to prepare a simple, I've made my offer. That's step 4. Now I'm going into the close. Now, you're going to have to negotiate. And I always tell everybody when I help them virtually do this, you don't negotiate live, meaning we're never the person on the phone's never the decision maker.
Right.
They get to take that burden off them and put it on someone in the back office. And you get in the negotiating, you get to actually use word tracks like, listen, don't shoot the messenger.
Right.
You know, I'm not here. If I could give you $200,000, I'd give it to you right now.
Yeah.
But that's probably why they don't let me spend the money.
Oh, with my acquisition team, I'm the big bad boss.
Yes.
I am the guy that's giving them these prices, and they're sitting next to the property owners at the same side of the table. They're not negotiating across.
Yep.
They're sitting right next.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We're not playing, poker here against them. We're looking at their cards with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you say that. Like when you say, I'm on the side, Mrs. Seller, I'm on your side of the table.
Yeah.
I'm not with them back there.
Right.
They're number crunchers. There's no human element in it for them. They don't know you're trying to go see your granddaughter right now. They don't know your husband hasn't been upstairs in 2 years because he can't climb the stairs.
Right.
They don't know any of this. So it's my job to work with you. It's me and you against them. I'll go back there and paint whatever picture I have to pry whatever number I have to make sure you're happy.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
It's got to be a win-win, but at the end of the day, I'm on your side.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to negotiate. When you're in your negotiations, you got to go back to get a raise. You always put them on a hold, because when you're in the negotiation stage, all they're thinking about now is money. The conversation has pivoted from anything else other than money.
Right.
So when you put them on that hold and you position yourself where you're running away from the phone, if there's anyone else in that room, in that moment, so many times I've made so much money on that hold.
Because they're going to talk to that other person.
They're going to talk.
Yeah.
Because how much will you take? I used the example of this elderly couple I was helping, and it was a win-win for everybody. And they wouldn't give me a number, which happens often.
Yeah.
But just because they don't give you a number doesn't mean they're not interested in selling their house. I ran my numbers. My first offer was going to be $130,000. My first. And I put them on the 2 holds. We got into negotiating, and they still would not give me a number. They said, no. I put them, my apologies. I put them on the second hold. We weren't even in negotiating, but I knew I had to come back and make an offer. On that second hold, and it was right towards the end of it, everything got silent. They stopped talking. They started praying. And they said, dear God, if he can just give us $100,000, it'll allow us to pay our credit cards off. It'll allow us to do all this stuff. And I was like, this is the best scenario ever. Me and God get to work together. I'm going to give them exactly what they want. And God just helped me make an extra 30 grand.
Yeah.
Like legitimately $30,000. So I came back. And I was like, and I didn't start at 100.
You didn't ask them how much they wanted for it?
I did, but they wouldn't give me a number.
They wouldn't.
But when I put them on hold, the only person they would talk to was God. And I just so happened to have a close relationship with God, and he told me exactly what they said when I was on that hold. So anyways, when we get into negotiation, you put them on hold. That way you can go back, you can raise your number. And then when we go into after you meet the number that makes sense where you can make money and they're happy, we say, all right, now we go into the close. Close is my underwriters are going to go ahead, prepare a simple 2.5-page agreement, because that's what ours is. Simple 2.5-page agreement. It's written in 3rd grade English. It's written for guys like me to understand. There's not all that lawyer jargon in it. And I always say the 3rd grade English to hopefully get rid of I need to have someone else read it for me. It's just a simple word track we drop in there. And then once we button up the deal, meaning we set clear expectations of what's going to happen after they sign it and when we review it, my underwriters are going to go ahead and send you a simple 2.5-page agreement. It's written 3rd grade English. It's actually written for guys like me to understand. When you get it in your inbox, I'm going to go through it with you word for word, line for line, just to answer any questions that you may have. I'm not really too worried about the concerns because I pretty much covered everything. And then you're going to click a couple boxes. Once it's signed, Within 24 hours, you're going to get a call from a transaction coordinator, and she is going to be your liaison throughout this entire process. Her name is Alex. She's literally going to hold your hand from right now all the way to the closing table. She's going to give you a weekly phone call, because we do. We give all of our contracts weekly phone calls. She's going to let you know where we're at, how far we've come, and how far we have to go. You're going to have a direct line to Alex in case you ever need anything. You're going to be able to give her a call. Now, it is just Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 6. So if you call on a weekend, you're going to hear from her that following Monday. And then if you don't have any other questions once we've signed off on that, we're going to go ahead and embark on this journey together. Now, I'm going to run back to my underwriters and see if they have this offer letter prepared. Bear with me one moment again. And then I put them on hold because our closers, they type up the contracts.
Real quick, who did the comps? Who's putting together the offer? Because in my mind, I'm like, holy cow, this is really fast, sight unseen.
Yep.
If they don't, if there's a couple other things that you just didn't discover, then you have to renegotiate or you have to cancel the deal or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, why not just take the extra day? You've built a great rapport. You're running your comps. You get it real buttoned up. You get to look at the satellite. You get to look at everything. You get some brainiac analytical that runs all the numbers, make sure everything's really crispy clean, and then give them the offer.
Yeah, great question.
Just to eliminate cancellations and renegotiating. Because we've done, even in my business, the only time that we've had to like renegotiate or cancel is when they were like, I want this price. My acquisition manager's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then we do it. And then we're like, what are you doing? Like we needed like 30 grand. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. So it's our acquisitions or closers, they don't run numbers.
Right.
They don't analyze or underwrite properties. So when they get to step 3, we use a system called Slack. I'm sure a lot of people are used to it.
Yeah, sure.
We have a chat group in there called Offers Needed. So when they get to when they get to step 3, they take the property, insert it there, and we know. Actually, myself and my partner Tony, we underwrite every deal in our office.
Right.
We're at the stage now. We're getting ready to hire that position.
Yeah.
A full-time underwriter. So we allow our closers to do what they're good at, and that's have quality conversations, listen when needed, and only worry about the conversation. We're not having them underwrite deals.
Got it.
So we have, once they give us that number, we know we have about 15 to 20 minutes to underwrite a deal.
Got it.
That's how we can do it.
Yep. So they're putting it in, your team's putting it in Slack. Like as they're going through the discovery process. Right? Okay. So they're getting some numbers there.
100%.
And that's how they're
And really the only time we have to go in for a reduction, and when you're doing this at scale over the phone virtually, there are going to be those phone calls.
Sure.
There are.
Especially in new markets.
Yes. And the homeowner is not all. Sometimes they haven't seen the inside of their rental property in 6 years. They don't know what it looks like. They're going off the last time they saw it, not what it looks like. And it's like calling your kid ugly. You don't call your kid ugly, right? Your house is always the most beautiful thing ever. You're trying to get the most money from it, for that property. Now, when we go into the close, I'm back seeing if the underwriter has the simple 2.5-page agreement prepared. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back on and I'm going to say, hey, Mrs. Seller, they've actually emailed both you and I a copy of the offer letter. Go ahead and pull your email up real quick. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to pull their email up, and the only thing that I should hear from them is, Eric, I don't have anything in my inbox. It's because I haven't sent it yet.
Got it.
I want to make sure they have their email
that they're
open,
doing it.
And so what I do, as soon as they say, I don't have it, I hit send. And now I go, that's weird. I got it. Can you refresh your email? They refresh it. Boom, it's the first email they have. And then we have them open that up. We review the purchase agreement with them. When we get done with the first page, there's an initial on the bottom of the first page. Before we read the whole agreement, there's an initial at the bottom of the first. We'll review that first page. I'll say, go ahead and click that little yellow button right there that says initial, because what I want to do is see if they'll initial a contract they haven't fully read.
Right.
So as soon as I get done with that first page and they click that first one, I know I've closed them. Now, if they say, I want to go ahead and read this whole thing, I know I still have work to do.
You don't want to go through it so they know the expectations of what the next 30 days is going to be like?
I've already set that expectation.
Got it.
Because I've told them everything that's going to happen.
Got it.
What I'm doing is gauging whether or not they're closed. Right. So we will read the first page, which there's only 6 line items on the first page and their address and the purchase price. What I'm gauging is, are they clicking it and are they sold? Because if they don't click the first one, I go, all right, I probably got some work to do still.
Yeah.
Then once they click it, I'll go ahead and tighten up that bow. Again, make sure they don't have any questions or concerns moving forward. And then I always end it with the biggest compliment you could ever give us when we do exactly as we say we're going to do is just go and give us a positive review online.
Yeah, sure.
That way we can help the next person in line. And I look forward to seeing you at the closing table. That's how we end it.
I love it. Are you running into anybody trying to get in front of that property owner when they see your properties go out? You know, when you're selling. I know we're switching tracks. You've got the property now. I assume the seller's either going to take pictures based on some email that you send them, or you send somebody out there to take pictures.
One of the two.
Right?
Yep.
And then you put it out to the world. How do people aren't trying to just go and backdoor you and say, hey, listen, cancel that deal with them. I can give you more.
Has it happened? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this happens like a lot here.
Okay.
A lot. Like a lot.
Yeah.
And especially when the market gets, when the interest rates went up and cash buyers disappeared, some of them.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
100%.
Yep.
We saw people try. So we've had to close like a lot of a majority of our deals.
Really?
Close them and then dispo them. But you're not dealing with that.
So to answer your question, does it happen? Yes.
Sure.
Not enough to where it's like, man, this is a massive problem for us.
Okay.
It's not.
Because and the reason I kind of brought that up is because when we're going through that purchase agreement, we're really going through that purchase agreement. Here's something called a memorandum of the purchase agreement.
We do all that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we have all that.
You got to really educate, because people don't understand that once they sign that purchase agreement, they can't just go and sell to somebody else.
Yes.
They just can't cancel willy-nilly.
So we switch our language. I'm glad you brought that up. And again, I was trying to fly through 5 steps.
I get it.
But you're bringing up very valid points.
Yeah.
So we use offer letter, offer letter, offer letter.
Yeah.
Once they've clicked them, we now change our language to you've signed a legally binding contract. Right? So we set the tone at the end.
Well, I think it's really important. We've always found if people really understand, listen, you're committed to us, we're committed to you. Let's get this done. If anybody comes and approaches you, and this is something we've had to do just to educate the property owners when other people are trying to get after these deals, because we could send it to 5 people or 500 or 5,000 people. We don't know who's sending that to whoever else, right? Yeah. And so we have to really. This is my hesitancy against doing everything over the phone. Is that I don't feel like we built enough of a bond to really connect them to us to where they really trust us to get through the finish line. You know what I mean? Make it as smooth for them as possible. So it's a limiting belief, but it's just something that I've.
So what my wife is always handled in all of our businesses is the back end from a client relations part, right? So that's why in our last business and in this business, we have one person dedicated to contacting every single one of our contracts a minimum of once a week.
Love it.
So it is going to be much harder for that person to go cheat on us when they've heard from us every single week, and our TC is building a bond and rapport. I mean, we have weeks worth of conversations with this person, right? Yeah. And we do bring up the memorandum and all that stuff. So it's a must when you're doing it virtual. Yeah. But in another layer of protection is we let all of our buyers know. And again, there's sleazeballs out there that you're never going to be able to get away from. But we let them know when you go out to the property, you're with TLC Home Buyers. Yep. And if you talk to the homeowner, we're going to let them, we're going to blackball you. We're going to shoot your name out on every platform to where you can't, it's going to be hard for you to buy another house.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the conversation we've had with all of our buyers is, listen, we can close on every single deal.
Yeah.
And we will close on every single deal.
Yeah.
This is an option to sell it if you want to buy it. You know what I mean? We're going to close on this either way. It's locked in. We've built a great relationship with this property owner, so respect that.
Yep.
And just go over and see the property and get out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it fits what you're looking to buy, great. And by the way, just speaking of the memorandums, I mean, we very rarely have to record a memorandum.
Yeah.
If ever. I mean, maybe a handful of times over the course of 100, 200 deals have we had to do a memorandum, and it's always unusual circumstances. But it's good to educate them on what they're reading, so that I think it just anchors them more.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It shuts all the doors of, hey, well, if somebody else brings me something higher, or if somebody else tells me something that is different than what I'm going through here, then I can just cancel and be done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But going into a new market, I've only done this virtually, only.
Yeah.
So I can assure you, when you go into a new market, it's easy peasy, I think.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just follow the process.
Just follow the process.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
that was a lot. I mean, people are going to have to listen
lot.
to this again and again and again. If they want to be in your world, how do they do that?
Instagram, the Eric Klein.
Yeah.
The Eric, ERIC, Klein, CLINE.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Any website, anywhere that
The Eric
have
Klein.
Okay. .com?
YouTube. Yeah.
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 YouTube,
you can
the
find
Eric
me on
Klein.
YouTube. All that. Yeah. It's all the Eric Klein, man.
Let me ask you this last question.
Yeah.
Because I always, I always want to challenge entrepreneurs here on this. Why do you have a partner?
Why do I have a partner?
Why do you have a business partner?
Yeah, great question. That's a good question. Well, one.
Why not just hire somebody that has great skills?
Yep. So I've been an entrepreneur now for going on 13 years.
And by the way, I love all the stuff that I see on Tony's side. So I get it, but I just want to.
Yeah. So my wife has always been my business partner.
Right.
Always.
Yeah.
And she has always held equity in the companies. It's not just a husband and wife.
Okay.
There's equity. Mm-hmm. And when we were getting into, when we shut down our last business.
Yeah.
And me and my wife decided we were going to move to North Carolina, get out of South Florida. Tony's been my best friend since right after high school.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
I didn't know that.
We've been like this.
Yeah.
And he was, when our lives went to heck in a handbasket.
Yeah.
He went to the West Coast. I went to the East Coast. He had a bike shop in California that he was trying to figure out his next move.
Sure.
Because he knew the bike shop, the days were numbered on it. And I knew I was going to jump into the wholesaling model. Mm-hmm. And I knew Tony was scrambling and he was, trying to figure out his best move. And I am somebody that wants to win with the people I love.
Me too,
and
brother.
he is literally, my kids call him Uncle Tony.
Yeah, sure.
He's a brother from another mother.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a great opportunity for me and him and my wife to go on a run together. And we offered him equity in the business.
Yeah.
And it's been an amazing journey with him to see him go from the bike industry into sales and marketing all over a telephone and virtually, and just watching him grow as an individual and an entrepreneur. And for me, that's like Tony's making the most money he's ever made in his life right now, and it makes my heart sing.
Awesome.
To be able to.
Isn't it the best?
It's the best, man, to be able to bring one of your boys up.
Yeah,
like
Mike
that.
Mahoney, who you met down the hall. We've been best friends since junior high. Ryan, my acquisition manager. Jeremy, my disposition manager. We were college teammates.
Really?
And roommates. My dad and mom. My mom's my bookkeeper. My dad's my CFO. You know what I mean? Like it's like people don't understand, and people go, well, never mix business with family. Yeah, if you're an asshole,
right?
If you're not, you could totally do it, and it's way more fun.
Yeah. I love it, man. And people always, he's learned a lot from me. I've learned so much from that guy. Like, people will be together, and they're always like, man, you're in shape. I've never been an in shape guy, ever. And just a direct reflection of me hanging out with Tony. The guy has consistently worked out for 25 years.
For sure.
So I am the healthiest I've ever been in my life.
Sure.
Because, you know, you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're going to get your hair cut. You hang around with somebody that looks like you and Tony long enough, and like I go to the gym with him, and I literally, all I do is I follow him around. Yeah. He picks up weights, I cut it in half, I pick up the same weight.
Love it.
You know what I mean?
Love it.
So it's been a good relationship.
Awesome. Yeah. I love the opportunity to win with friends and family is the best.
It's the best.
Awesome. Man. Thank you for being on here. That's awesome.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah. Guys, if you are looking for any resources, downloads, any guides, any step-by-step on how to get your first wholesale deal, go to wholesalinginc.com, wholesalinginc.com. And that is it for our podcast episode. As always, I encourage you to go out there and talk to people. I love you. I'll see you next time.